Hi, welcome. I'm Phil, violinist at Phaedra Ensemble, and welcome to our EP launch. Welcome to my office. You feel free to kind of scrutinize my book selection. I think I can even see 50 Shades of Grey just about there, that's a really fun book. Thanks for coming along. I know it's a kind of weird way to be doing things. We'd have loved to be doing this live, but as things are, this is the best we could do. Going to get onto the EP pretty much straight away. Just first of all, just wanted to thank the Arts Council who helped fund this whole project, and then tell you how this is going to run. So we've got the whole EP to listen to, runs at about 30 minutes. All the videos will just run straight after each other, so there's nothing to do. After that, we've got a nice Q&A. We've got Jamie Hamilton, we've got Leo Chadburn, two composers that are on the EP. We've got Jamie Doe, aka the Magic Lantern. We've got the wonderful Rhea Parker, virtuoso recorder player and all-round amazing musician who also sung on Oh Superman. And we'll be being joined by Daisy Dickinson, who made the incredible film you're going to watch now. So that's about it from me for now. Just relax, turn it up, enjoy, and we'll speak after these. Bye.
Oh, Superman, oh, Judge, oh, Mom and Dad, Mom and Dad. Oh, Superman, oh, Judge, oh, Mom and Dad, Mom and Dad. Well, you don't know me, but I know you, and I got a message to give to you. Here come the play. So you better get ready, ready to go. You can come as you are, or pay as you go, pay as you go. they said. This is the hand that takes. This is the hand that takes. This is the hand that takes. Here come the planes.
They're American planes, made in America. Smoking or not smoking. Neither snow nor rain, nor gloom night shall stay these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed ride.
Cause when love is gone, there's always justice. And when justice is gone, there's always force. And when force is gone, there's always mom. Ah, 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 ah. So hold me, Mom, in your long arms. So hold me, Mom, in your long arms. Automatic arms, your electronic arms, in your arms. So hold me, Mom, your long arms.
Noise, complaints, suspicious activity. A warning ticket was left in the windshield of a car. So long as continuing the sound in the 5,000 block of 149th Street car.
Has 50s or 60s, has 50s, older man around looking, has around as 50 win, has 50s or has around standing staring, has around has standing staring.
An occupied red truck was reported parked several days in a row.
50s or 60s, around looking, has anyone? Older man, win, around looking, standing, has, around looking, standing, has 50, as, stand, 50s, around, has anyone? 50s or 60s, around looking, standing, staring into.
An occupied red truck was reported parked several days in a row.
50s or 60s, walking, around, standing, has, older man in his late 50s, around, look, stand, 50s or 6, standing, stare, win, has, older man, 50s or 60s.
Occupied red truck was reported parked several days in a row at
50s or 60s, around. Has anyone noticed an older man in his late 50s or 60s walking around, looking, standing, staring into windows? A man sitting in a pickup truck since 5:30 a.m. 7,000 block of. Man told the 5:30 a.m. Man 7,000 5:30 a.m. was reported. Man told the.
red truck was reported parked several days in a row at a bank.
Around looking, standing, staring into. A man sitting in a pickup truck since 5:30 a.m. was reported in 7,000 block of 103rd Century Court. The man told the deputy he was waiting for a sale to start in the hearing, figured he'd better get there early. A man with a flashlight tampering with a manhole cover at 11 p.m. was reported in the area. An officer made contact with the man who Sounding.
In the 1400 block report. Being in the next door part, where slamming a door and screaming and shouting.
To a caller how to delete. Explain to a caller how to delete. Explain to a caller how to delete from. Explain to a caller how to delete from her smartphone. Explain to a caller how to delete from her smartphone and email. Explain to a caller how to delete from her smartphone and email she thought. A deputy explained to a caller how to delete from her smartphone and email she thought. A deputy explained to a caller how to delete from her smartphone an email she thought was. A deputy explained to a caller how to delete from her smartphone an email she thought was suspicious. A deputy explained to a caller how to delete from her smartphone an email she thought was suspicious.
Got another man at the balcony looking in the windows of the. Got another man at the balcony looking in the windows of the hotel. Got another man on a balcony looking in the windows of the hotel. A man. Got another man at the balcony in a silver sedan. Off. After being in a silver sedan. Confronted. A man smoking a cigarette. After being outside the Afton House Inn in a silver sedan. After being in a silver sedan.
With Wisconsin.
Off.
The man took.
Confronted.
The man took.
Confronted. Off. Outside the Afton House Inn. After being outside the Afton House Inn. After being
The man took.
after being outside the Afton, 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 off, confronted, off, in a silver sedan, confronted, off, confronted, off, confronted, off, confronted, off, confronted, off, confronted, off. Deputies picked up a disturbed man.
that it was just my mood today. That's why no other reason. It was just my mood today. That's why no other reason. It was just my mood today. That's why no other reason. It was just my mood today. That's why no other reason.
Letting 100 flowers blossom, and 100 schools of thought contend. Is the policy for promoting the progress of the arts and sciences? And a flourishing socialist culture in our land. Different forms and styles in art should develop freely, and different schools in science should contend freely. We think that it is harmful to the growth of art and science if administrative measures are used to impose one particular style of art, or school of thought, and to ban another. Letting 100 flowers blossom, and 100 schools of thought contend is the policy for promoting the progress of the arts and sciences and a flourishing socialist culture in our land. We think that it is harmful to the growth of art and science if administrative measures are used to impose one particular style of art or school of thought, and to ban another, letting 100 flowers blossom and 100 schools of thought content. Is the policy for promoting the progress of the arts and sciences and a flourishing socialist culture in our land? Different forms and styles in art should develop freely, and different schools in science should contend freely. We think that it is harmful to the growth of art and science if administrative measures are used to impose one particular style of art or school of thought, and to ban another, letting 100 flowers blossom.
Welcome back. It's like I can still hear the applause ringing out in the air. I really miss that. Everyone does. And where to start? Hope you enjoyed all that. I just want to say a quick thank you, everyone involved. There's quite a lot of people. So all the players, Woodwind Man, George, Hayley Simon, string players, Serge, Rich, who's part of the quartet. Here we have Jamie Doe, Andrea Parker on vocals there. Thank Jamie Hamilton for writing amazing arrangements, making amazing videos, and totally saving my ass at doing all this good stuff with the online. I'm terrible at it. Thank you to Leo. Who else I missed? Thank you to Daisy. She's coming on a minute for making banging film for Superman. Thanks to Alex Bonny mixing the whole EP, mixing the whole amazing to work with, is amazing, sound incredible. And also Stephen Manchur, Germany, over Germany. The mastering, doing the mastering out. Great. So that's the EP. It's available to buy tomorrow. And it also happens to be Bandcamp Day. If you don't know about that, means everything you buy on Bandcamp goes straight to us, which is very nice of Bandcamp. So if you fancy buying it, buy it in the afternoon tomorrow. That's when it starts. If not, listen to it on Spotify or whatever you want to do. Lots more from Phaedra Ensemble this year. We've got an album. Jane Halbin's got some stuff coming out. Lots of people have got stuff coming out, so we're going to talk a bit about that. But now let me introduce everyone.
Hi.
It's kind of a simple thing in a way. It's you like how it's structured and what it does. It was originally written nearly 10 years ago for a concert at the Dillon Pavilion in Bexhill at the same time as big Andy Warhol retrospective exhibition, and I'd been asked to write a piece of music for a concert that we did that was in some way Warhol related, and this was with Apartment House and Anton Lukashevich's his ensemble, and yeah, like what the piece is in the same way that a Warhol screen print of the image of Mao Zedong is reproduced again and again, different colours. This is a sort of musical analogy, in that it's Mao's words going round and round that scale again and again and again, and the hues change in that the orchestration changes of these four instruments, and the harmonies change from lighter, more consonant to something a bit darker. And yeah, that's it. It's unlike a lot of things that I write, the idea is that it has a sort of ambiguity about it, and it has this sort of object quality in that it doesn't develop or go anywhere or up to it. But what there is just this sort of like turning an object.
Yeah, great. In the original, you do the vocals, and in your upcoming album you do the vocals. When we first did this with Jamie, what were your thoughts when I approached you and said, do this piece? Because we'd already, bit of background, we'd already played one of Leo's pieces a few times, which we really enjoyed. And then I knew this piece, and I thought, well, look, we've got Jamie Doe here, kind of the same register of voice, and we thought, well, let's get him to do it. How did you feel when I first suggested that? Was that kind of...
Well, here's the deal. It's if you're the kind of person that writes music in the way that I do, it's massively flattering when anyone wants to do it again. Yeah. So you know, and that's an aspect of this kind of music that I really like, is hearing how it's reimagined and how it emerges in someone else's interpretation. B, like, you know, I think what Jamie does with this is very beautiful, and you know, because I performed this song loads myself. What's interesting for me is the tenderness in it. It's got a sort of there's a sincerity to the sound of it, beautiful, and it's quite different from Mike, because I've recorded a version that's coming out later this year. Dark in comparison to what Jamie does with it. So I love it. I love to hear this, you know, just to spin on it emotionally. It's great.
And I mean, Jamie, you know, you were saying earlier that you kind of felt an affinity with this piece. Everyone else, Jamie's sung with us a lot, and often as a kind of contemporary music, we ask a lot of Jamie. Jamie's is a predominantly jazz and I guess folk singer, and so not all, you know, sometimes some of the stuff we've asked him to do has been pretty far out for what he usually does, and he always rises to the occasion, obviously, but this kind of affinity, right?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, yeah, I would like to say how much I love Leo's music, and particularly this piece. I think what's interesting about us, when we first played it through, I took the words at face value, then sort of read into them, you know, of where they were from, obviously, and in taking them at face value, they felt sort of more innocent than they otherwise appear. And there's something about this piece that I really love, that it's like a really slow unfolding, and it resists the temptation to overstate any gesture. And in that sense, it reminds me of, I've sung a lot of traditional music, and in that sense of a storytelling approach that doesn't kind of over egg any element of the story. It just lays out the story in front of you and lets you interpret it and make from it what you will. And I really like that. And there was something because technically it sits in a really it sits in a very comfortable part of my voice, and I also liked being in control because it's the whole thing is so colla voce and so following the voice. There was, in the context of some of the other music that we've done as well, Phil, that it felt something that I could lead a bit more, and I really enjoyed that. And then when we came to record it, it was such a wonderful day. Like it was such a warm sort of summer's day to all be together in the midst of what's otherwise been a difficult year. I think there was something of the joy of collaborative music making that I think we managed to capture somehow. A combination of Leo's writing and the joy of just making music was palpable, I reckon.
I mean, it was pretty much the only day we were all in the studio together last year, and it was really fun. We were in Jamie's studio recording that. I mean, I love doing it because I get to play bass on it, and I generally, whenever I get a chance to not play the violin, it's great. So I really enjoyed that, and it was a great piece. The EP itself has got quite a lot of America about it. There's kind of a lot of aspects of it that link to America and American culture, and I guess the Warhol aspect kind of brings Leo's piece into that. Let's talk about Jamie's piece, Activity Report. This is more inspired by American ideas as well. Jamie, where did you get these stories and these reports that this is based on? Gotcha.
I'm not entirely sure I'm that audible right now. Sorry. Yeah, we've had some audio issues, by the way, just to let everyone know. But I think they're mostly fixed now. Okay. Yeah. So I'll start again. Actually. So these were like these were like digests from a newspaper, where they publish these weekly reports on what's happened in their local area with the police, documenting every phone call. And what's interesting about that was, I suppose you don't encounter it much in the UK, but it was more, I wasn't actually that interested in the source of them, but more the fact that there were these kind of really strange vignettes of kind of American or just everyday life. So you'd have these stories like a man's walking down the street with a bowling ball and smiling. We called 2 officers to go and see him. And they said such and such. Basically, it's all kind of
nice.
It's just these very odd kind of small condensed storylines.
Yeah, I know. There's something. There's something definitely touching. Often about touching stories and definitely a bit scary sometimes. I like listening to it. Then it gave me. It's much more the sense of like kind of referencing America as well. Just sometimes I kind of felt like I was in a sort of Western, had the whistling sort of remind me of like a Morricone kind of like sort of wet Western. And then sometimes, the voices had this kind of like Californian sort of close harmony thing. And I don't know, there's a cool Americanness about it as well. I think it's a really great piece. And then of course, the slide is another interesting aspect. I mean, guitar's kind of your instrument anyway, and I think that's a really interesting reference.
Yeah, I was trying to. I mean, I played quite a lot of slide guitar recently in my own work. Really trying to it was really just going beyond playing like normal temperament, normal frets. It was just so I could do glisses, basically slides.
Right.
But obviously it evokes like loads of these other Americana, styles of music, which I love. But it's the kind of thing that you can't really avoid with acoustic slide playing. So I just kind of like using that quality, but kind of tampering with it. And this whole piece is kind of it kind of references these things, but in a slightly oblique way. Like it kind of has these things in it, and it's nice that you talked about wooziness, because I wanted it to feel quite warm and hot,
Yeah.
and kind of close, and I suppose it does to a point. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of referencing America, but it's really, the texts are kind of more divorced from that, and it just has this kind of, I don't know, this sound world that sits somewhere between this kind of contemporary sort of techniques that I use a lot, and kind of something that's a bit more like radiophonic, like tuning the dial on a radio receiver into different, types of broadcasts.
It's also, if I can jump in here, it's also kind of, mad. And that's what I love so much about what you do, Jane, which is that, like, there's this very obviously thoughtful, technical, deeply thought out approach, and there's also like this like really passionate, like batshit, like crazy, like element of like fuck it, and what I as a songwriter principally, what I find so interesting about what you do, Rhea and I were talking about it whilst we were watching your piece, is that like I cannot how you conceive of that music. And that's what's every time I watch a piece of yours, and I think like, what kind of a brain do you? What else are you thinking about if you have a brain that can think about this? And that both, to be honest, that's slightly troubling and also really fascinating. I think you could be on the verge of some great discovery in some completely unrelated field, in addition to being a really amazing composer, because you form these links which I couldn't imagine. So, like, deeply impressed and sort of fascinated by the work you make, because it's so.
Oh, thanks.
It's amazing. Yeah.
I think that is the case with
was,
seeing any piece of work, though, as well. Like, if you're involved in that process, like, you just know it as being a slog, or being this thing, and you can never fix this thing or that thing, or like, everything that kind of went into it, and it's so nice when other people see it with like fresh eyes, and they're like, oh yeah, no, that was great, because it's so, as artists, we're always like incredibly aware of everything that's wrong or good or bad about what we do. It's nice when I see other people's work. I know that they've probably gone, oh god, is this a good idea or not? But when I see it at the end, I go, oh yeah, that was great. How on earth did Leo kind of come up with that kind of idea, and how did he go about writing it?
And it was, it wasn't the way we went about making it wasn't kind of usual either. I mean, I spent 2 pretty freaky days in a loft in France recording violin and viola parts to myself. It was pretty harrowing. And then, we spent probably a couple more days recording stuff. But I mean, essentially, it was all kind of put together kind of like remotely. It was a kind of strange process, all doing it like separately, and then putting it all together, and then seeing how it comes out. I kind of agree with Jamie. I mean, this is actually, I was thinking about this, Jamie Hamilton, earlier. This is the 7th piece of yours that I've played, perhaps even recorded. Actually, I've recorded, I think, 6 of your pieces.
I didn't know I had 7 pieces.
Well, you did. I've got credits on all of them. No, but so it's always fascinating to see what Jamie comes out with, and that kind of moves us on quite nicely onto Oh Superman, which, by the way, Jamie didn't write. That was Laurie Anderson. So let's just to clarify, Laurie Anderson did compose and perform the 1981 classic Oh Superman, and wasn't involved in our making of it, but we made this version of Oh Superman this year, having kind of started the performance of it, where we first performed it, in 2018, something, maybe.
Yeah,
I had definitely had more hair then. So yeah.
You had more hair, yeah. And we performed it in one of our Vox events. I think it was actually the last thing we've ever performed in Vox, wasn't it? So far, I think. And when Jamie and I first talked about doing it, the idea was to kind of recreate the song in its entirety, kind of exactly as we heard it on the record, but with acoustic instruments. And that's how we sort of performed it live. And then when we came about to recording it, we kind of got to a point where we decided, no, for it to work, we need to just change things ever so slightly. But Jamie, tell us about your arrangements for that.
Oh God, I suppose it did start that we had this grid and this perfect recreation of the piece live. Well,
yeah.
Not perfect, but like doing literally every single beat, every single note in the work. And we had this issue doing the has, where we were trying to kind of pass the has around the ensemble. So the whole arrangement was like, who's not doing the has right now? Or like, who's run out of breath? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was quite hard because it had a lot of drag and stuff like that. So we just kind of, I suppose this was like a revamp of that whole arrangement, and it was just basically using studio technique. So there's lots of layers of strings, lots of overdubs. It's kind of going away from like what a classical ensemble does typically, which is that they tend to play off a score, which is like an artwork, and they can perfectly recreate it live. Whereas I suppose if we were to do it live, we'd have to sit down and work out what layers that we'd keep and what we'd lose and things like that. And I like that. I think that's maybe a model for making albums, for making records.
I agree.
That you can't play them live. That well, like a band does, you have to kind of reorchestrate and rearrange them. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Like going forward, I would probably think about doing that too. That you have a live version that you can tour that's really flexible and easy, and then you have this other version which is this polished version, which is still true to the intent of the original version, but it's just a chance to basically explore more things musically. So that was really it. Yeah. It was just a chance to basically fix all the things I didn't like first time, and then also just layer and kind of experiment and have fun with it.
That's it. I mean, it kind of it grew in the studio, didn't it? I mean, we sort of would add new stuff, take it away, and it kind of became, something sort of way beyond the live performance. Jamie Doe and Rhea, how was you guys recorded all the vocals remotely? We didn't actually see you in flesh, did we? Like in that whole period.
Sadly not.
Sadly not.
No, yeah, we recorded it, all the vocals here at our place in Clapton, in Hackney. And it was really difficult. It was a really challenging piece of music to record, and made me deeply appreciate how amazing Laurie Anderson's original is, because, like you say, we set out with a view to try to sing as faithfully as possible Laurie Anderson's phrasing, everything about the way she delivered it, and in the process realized quite how intricately challenging the way she does it is. And it became a bit of sort of an albatross, because we were talking over this before we started the stream. If you have an imperfect instrument like me, but you also have perfectionist tendencies, trying to record a Superman is a recipe for deep anxiety and sort of a fundamental examination of your self-worth as a vocalist. So over the course of a couple of weeks, trying to record it again and again and again and again and again, I think I learned a lot of things about myself, but more admiration for Laurie Anderson. Basically, I just thought that her version is just amazing, and it was great. It was great to really throw what we could at it, and I think the version that we have is fascinating. Yeah, I think I learned a lot about myself doing it. Not all of which I want to share with you tonight.
I think that's a good point though about the original track, because I found it really hard to arrange as well, because there is musically it's so there's almost nothing to it, and it's so sparse in how it's structured, and it's actually a really long track as well. So it's really hard to know how do you approach something like that, and also something that's very iconic, where you're like those spoken bits in that kind of classic Laurie Anderson sing-song voice. It's just, I looked up all the cover versions of it, and nobody basically gets it quite right, because it's just
nobody does it. Yeah,
it's basically uncoverable.
And there's it all seems so effortless.
It seems so natural.
Yeah, and then
for her,
if you try to in trying to recreate it and to deliver it as effortlessly as she does, you end up sounding extremely mannered and quite forced. And I think where the version we've recorded ended up was in I guess acknowledging our the flaws in trying to recreate it as faithfully as we had initially intended. And I think the version we have ended up with is stronger for having accepted the necessity of diverging from the original. So yeah,
I agree. I think, trying to, I mean, it's interesting what Jamie Hamilton was saying about that. There are, lots of attempts at covers and things, and it's a difficult one to attempt, even though so many people do it, because it does sound so familiar. Whenever I listen to it, it's always like this kind of warm, kind of coming home, kind of familiar sense, but also something completely foreign and distant and always strange. I wonder if we can bring in Daisy. Is that a possibility?
Let's keep talking and let's see if I can.
Let's do that. Okay. Yeah.
We've had some technical issues with the sound, everyone. Sorry about that.
Let's do it.
But I think it's working now.
One thing I thought we could just quickly talk about was that one of the maybe slightly more difficult elements of the recording was the cello. Some personnel issues.
Yes, I mean the cellist is always a bit of a problem in the ensemble. It's
and I think what's a real testament to the strength of the ensemble that we managed to kind of like work through those kind of there's no I in team sort of mentality.
There's no I in Sergio.
Exactly. Indeed there isn't. There might actually. There on second thoughts. But I mean, listen. I think just all joking aside, the strength of the ensemble, I think, is one of the things which comes through, like the three different pieces, and it's great to be a part of it. Yeah,
it's always great to kind of get things together. I guess as an ensemble, this is amazing for us to get this first EP out. And looking forward to a lot more things this year. I mean, Jamie Doe album out at the moment is doing pretty good. I heard it on BBC Radio 3 the other night.
Yeah, so I have an EP of music for solo piano, which came out in December, called My Soul is a Strange Country. And it's been really nice. The reception's been very kind of heartening, and I was really pleased that Sarah Pete played it on Night Tracks Monday night, which was really cool. And it's been nice because obviously I grew up playing the piano, but for most of the time I write songs and play them on the guitar. So it was nice to go back to the piano and to write, really take myself seriously as a piano player. And now the new my fourth album, of songs, which is I'm just mixing it with the piano. So the piano EP kind of functions as a stepping stone to this new album, which Phil, you've played on this year. So lots of exciting musical things to look forward to.
Absolutely. And Leo, what's the deal with that?
Almost certainly the last week of March this year. So in 7 weeks or so.
Great. Brilliant.
And there'll be some physical versions and all the evil streaming technologies as well.
More cassette tapes?
No cassettes this time, no.
Oh, man, sell out. That's great. Well, I guess we're kind of about time now, so I guess we'll draw it to a close. Just once again, thank you all for joining us. Sorry if there's been any technical issues, but I hope you all enjoyed it. Please, go and buy it if you'd like. If not, just have a listen to it, watch the video again. Really shame we couldn't speak to Daisy. Daisy is out there and she's listening, so thank you so much, Daisy, for the film. I think it's absolutely incredible, and I think just watching it again then, I mean, I must have watched it 50 times, and I still love it every time I see it. So I think it's a really great thing you've done there, and thank you so much for that. Yeah, Phaedra, we've got an album coming out beginning of May, which is more kind of quartet music. We've got a string quartet by Meredith Monk. We've got a wonderful piece by Fred Thomas for piano and percussion and spoken word, and some Federico Jewski as well, with Jamie Doe again singing on it. So just, yeah, once again, I'd like to thank everyone that performed on the record. Thanks so much to Jamie Hamilton in particular for doing so much, doing all the producing and all that. And it's been a fantastic achievement. I think he's done amazing. And I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing more from him later on. I think that we've got something in a few months, probably, hopefully. But that's all coming out. So anyway, it's good night from all of us. And thanks for joining.
Bye.
Take care.